Good morning, students. Welcome to your social sciences class, and we are studying history, and we are studying chapter 7 of your textbook, Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation, and this is just part 2 or the unit 2 of this chapter. And now I have named it as the plight of the local school, because today we are basically going to discuss about the pathshalas, the local schools, and how was their condition and how were they affected by the British policies, British rules. So before that, I urge you to think what might have happened to a system, to the system of pathshalas when they were imposed. They were imposed without consulting their willingness. A totally new set of rules. And have you ever wondered whether the students at that time actually went to schools, and if they were, what happened to the British rule at the individual level? So these are the things that we are going to discuss in this chapter. First of all, we will have to study the report of William Adam. So this is because this report is a seminal. It is an important report that sets the background for our discussion on the plight of the local schools. And before that, let us know about William Adam. Who was he? He was a Scottish missionary who toured across Bengal and districts of Bihar in 1830, and that was the core area of British company administration in India. The company spread to other parts of the country only at a later period. William Adam had been asked by the company to report on the progress of education in vernacular schools. That report is known as the William Adam Report. Now we know why it is known as William Adam Report. And it was an important one because William Adam found that there were over 100,000 pathshalas, that is over 1 lakh, in Bengal and Bihar itself, and these are small institutions with not more than around 20 students, and by that count the total number of students in those 100,000 pathshalas would be 20 lakh, that is 2 million. That is a huge number considering the population of India, of that area, Bengal and Bihar at that time. So these institutions were set by wealthy people or by the local community, or at times it was set up by a guru or teacher. And there was one unique feature to these pathshalas. The unique feature is that they were considerably flexible. Few things that we associate with schools today were present in the pathshalas at that time. There were no fixed fees, no printed books, no separate school building, no benches, no chairs, no blackboards, no system of separate classes, no roll call, no attendance call, and no examination. No examination in today's system, and no regular timetable like that. So, in some places, classes would be held under a banyan tree, or in some places, classes would be held under in a temple. So it is quite a flexible system, but it was an efficient one. The fee structure, this is important. Their fee structure depended on the income of the families, which actually added to the equity or the spread of education at that time. Because the rich parents they paid more, and the less and the poorer parents paid less. And teaching was oral, and the gurus decided what to teach in accordance with the needs of the students. The students were not separated into different classes, and all of them sat on a particular place. And the guru or the teacher interacted with them separately with separate groups of children with different levels of learning. There was no age barrier to it. So it was an amazing system. So William Adams noticed a particular thing about pathshalas, and that is, we will have to remember it, that is, he discovered that this flexible system was suited and designed to the needs of the local population, or to local needs. For instance, the classes were not held during the harvest period, when all of the family members went to the field to cut crops, and classes were resumed only when the crops were cut and stored. This means that even children from peasant families could study. There are no restrictions on their study because they have to work. And Adam also noticed that this system worked rather efficiently in that manner. So the company was not concerned with primary education until this time, but with the Adams report, the company also started interfering with the primary education, that is with the pathshalas, as it was known at that time. After 1854, what happened is that the company decided to improve the system of vernacular education, and as it felt that it was not serving their purpose. It felt the need to introduce a new system, a radically different system, with routines, established rules, and with regular attendance. But how that new system was to be introduced, and what are the measures that the company undertook? And remember that it was a massive system of about 100,000 pathshalas. So the company administration started by appointing pandits in each in charge of looking after 4 to 5 schools. The task of the pandit was to visit the pathshalas and try to improve the standard of teaching. So here you can see a pathshala. This was a painting. The painter was the Dutch painter Francois Solvin, who came to India in late 18th century, and he tried to depict the everyday life of people using paintings. And this is taken from your textbook only. You will come across it again when you go through this chapter by yourself. So these are the implications of William Adams' report. The company appointed, as I have already told, pandits in charge of 4-5 schools. Teaching was to be based on textbooks. The guru could not teach from now on whatever he liked to teach. And learning was tested through a system of annual examination. Examination was introduced. The students were asked to pay regular fees and to attend regular classes. And after all, the overall system was made stiff. Stiff means the flexibility that was there in the earlier system was now gone. So we have to study now the reaction of the Indians. It was not that the British only thought about education in India. There were many Indians who thought seriously about education in India, and most of them were impressed with the developments in Europe, and they felt that the Western education could help to modernize India. And some of them differed in that respect. They argued that to the British to open more and more schools, colleges, universities, and spend more money on education. And our discussion would not be complete without talking about Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. You must have heard this name, and if you haven't heard this name until now, you are a bit unlucky, to be honest. Let's study about Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. He believed that the goal of education was to awaken the national spirit among the students, and he emphasized that the students although the students should remain connected to their roots, they should also take fullest advantage of the modern scientific and Western experiments in governments. And moreover, the students will also learn useful crafts so that they could earn a living when they leave school, and living through crafts, so to say. So see, his ideas are very practical and they are so relevant today. So let me add that he also advocated for vernacular education. Here is a picture of Sri Aurobindo Ghosh. He looks wise even in his picture. So now we will study the reaction of the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and this is the most important topic of the most important chapter of your history textbook. So Mahatma Gandhi, what he said, that education, English education has enslaved us. Enslaved means to make one a slave. So from this we can know that his ideas and his views on English education was not very positive. Gandhiji argued that colonial education has created a sense of inferiority in the minds of Indians. How? It made them to see their Western civilization as superior and see themselves as inferior, and it destroyed the pride they had in their own culture. So, what did he want? If he had rejected the English education, he must have wanted something else. He wanted that the colonial education created a sense of inferiority in the minds of Indians, felt that, and so he wanted that not English but the regional languages of India should be the medium of teaching. So he advocated for teaching in vernacular medium. So English education in English crippled Indians, distanced them from their own social surroundings, and made them strangers in their own lands. So he argued that education ought to develop a person's mind and soul, and he clearly distinguished between literacy and education. Literacy and education both they are not the same things. Literacy is a part of education, but it is not a substitute to education. Education is a far more wider and superior concept than literacy. Literacy or simply learning to read and write by itself do not count as education. That is very true. People have to work with their own hands. They have to learn a craft. They have to know how different things operate. This should develop their mind and capacity to understand. Dear students, see how the father of our nation was not only a great political and a social thinker, he was also a great educational thinker. So let me quote a few lines from him. He wrote about what he meant by education. So I am starting. By education, I mean all-round drawing out of the best in this child and man, in terms of body, mind, as well as spirit. Literacy is not the end of education. It is not even the beginning. It is only one of the means whereby a man or a woman can be educated. It is a means. It is a means to an end. It is not the end in itself. Unquote. See, Mahatma Gandhi clearly distinguishes literacy from education, and he wanted real education. Real education means to the all-round development of a child personality in terms of spirit, body, and mind, all the three aspects. So now, next we will study about the reaction of Rabindranath Tagore. This is also a vital topic. Students, do you know with what title Rabindranath Tagore is known as? He is known as the Kobi Guru. Kobi Guru, because of his excellent poetry works. He was the first Nobel laureate of Asia. So our Kobi Guru felt that childhood ought to be a time of self-learning, outside the rigid and restricting discipline of the schooling system set by the British. Teachers have to be imaginative, understand the child, and help the child to develop his or her curiosity. According to him, the existing schools kill the natural desire or the natural urge of the child to be creativity. It actually killed creativity in the child. Tagore was one of the was with the view that the creative learning could be encouraged only within a natural environment. So what he did, he established his school, a school named Shantiniketan. You must have heard this name. Shantiniketan literally translates into abode of peace. That is as beautiful a name as it can get. And what he did, he is established it 100 kilometers away from Kolkata, because since he believed that only in a natural surrounding a child can be creative. So in many senses, Tagore and Gandhi are similar in their views of education. With Tagore, we come to the conclusion of this chapter. But before that, let me discuss how Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi's views on education was different, because although they were similar, they were not the same. Gandhi was highly critical of the Western education and its worship of machine and technology, whereas Rabindranath Tagore wanted to combine the elements of Western education with Indian tradition. He emphasized that they need to teach science and technology at Shantiniketan, along with art, music, dance, etc. So, with this, we have come to the end of this chapter. But the debate on the agenda for national education would not be finished here. It will continue. Many persons will come and debate, although we have already discussed the most prominent ones, and it will continue until the time of our independence. So with this I conclude, but before leaving, let me urge you to go through this chapter by yourself when you are at home and when you are free and in a fresh state of mind, and ask me back if you have any doubts, and I will attach some quiz assignments and a set of test questions with in the Google Classroom along with this chapter. So you please go through that and do the quiz assignment responsibly, and I will come with a new chapter in our next class. Thank you and have a nice day.